everyone, my name is Laurel and I'm the owner here at TriFit Wellness. So today I'm going to share with you some just overview information on fat loss and macro basics. So this is not an exhaustive presentation. Your body is not a math equation. It is a very complicated, beautiful machine, but this is still going to give us a really good overview for our nutrition needs. So in terms of wanting to lose weight or wanting to lose body fat, what's an appropriate amount of fat loss per week that we could really assume? If we're going to assume that we want to lose about a pound a week, that is being in a deficit, calorie deficit of about 500 calories per day. That would allow us to lose 1 pound per week. So when you're hearing these claims, lose 20 pounds in a week, lose 15 pounds, it's really not sustainable, it's not realistic, because that is extreme reduction in calories. So an appropriate amount of calories for weight loss is maybe a half a pound to a pound a week. Now, the first thing we want to know is what's called our BMR. When we're talking about how many calories should we be eating for weight loss, we want to calculate our BMR. We can do it in two ways. An online calculator, just Google BMR calculator, or we can use something like an InBody or a DEXA scan like we use here at the gym. That will give us your BMR. Now, what is a BMR? That is your basal metabolic rate. That's the amount of calories that your body needs individual just for our normal bodily function. So this is our liver process, our digestion, our heart to pump blood, all of those things that your body does. If you're just a couch potato and you're not moving at all, your body still requires calories for those bodily functions. So once we know our BMR, we're gonna factor in our activity level. Now, activity levels can range anywhere from 1.2, somebody who's extremely sedentary, all the way up to like a 1.7, somebody who might be as a marathoner, they're extremely active. They require much more calories. So for most people, you're gonna be somewhere between a 1.4 or 1.5, where you have maybe somewhat active job, sitting, standing, and then also your exercise, your structured exercise that you're getting. So once we know that, we're gonna times our BMR, times our activity level to get our maintenance calories. Now, if we wanna lose fat, we would want ourselves in a deficit of 10 to 20% of our calories, of our maintenance calories. If we want to gain muscle, we want to be in a surplus. We want to be eating more, about 10 to 20%. Now, we've covered calorie needs. Now, what about macros? How does that play into everything? So when we're talking about macros, we have our micronutrients, which are our vitamins, minerals, things that don't have calories. And then we have our macronutrient, literally means big. That is everything that we eat that has calories that our body uses for energy. So your carbs, fat, and protein are your three main macronutrients. Alcohol is actually the fourth macronutrient, not really well known, but we'll cover that in a separate video. I just wanted you to know. Now, when we're talking about our macros, carbs and protein have 4 calories per gram. Fats have 9 calories per gram. So it's really easy to overdo it on our fats because they're such a dense macronutrient. So what are some examples of some of these? Carbohydrates are fruits, vegetables, grains, legumes, primarily carbohydrates. Our fats, nuts, seeds, fatty meats, eggs, those types of things. And then our protein, think all meats, tuna, fish, that type of thing. Many macronutrients many foods are actually multiple macronutrients. Like chicken has mostly protein, but also a little bit of fat. So it's not like they're only in one category typically. Now, if you're looking at a food label and you want to understand the relationship between macros and calories, if you have a food that has 10 grams of carbohydrates and you multiply 10 by 4 calories per gram, that particular food will have 40 calories of carbohydrate in it. So if you did that math equation for all three, you would come up with the total calories in that food, or pretty close. So that's the relationship between calories and macros. Now, how do we know how many we should be eating? What's the percentage? How many grams should we be eating of protein, carbs, and fat? That is your percentages. Now, for most people, unless you're following a specific diet like vegan or paleo or keto, you're gonna wanna start out with balanced macros. That means about 40% of your day in carbohydrates, 30% in fat, and 30% in protein. Now, another common one would be somebody who's plant-based, where most of your protein sources are also carbohydrates. So you might have a little bit higher, like a 50% of your day in carbohydrates and 30% fat, 20% protein. Probably the best thing you can do in all of these cases is stay as high as you can in your protein intake. Usually we recommend about 1 gram per pound of lean body mass per day. This is very specific to the individual. You really need to have a professional write your macros for you. A lot of the calculators that you'll find online are very inaccurate. Now, the other important thing to recognize here is all of these fun little acronyms. So we covered BMR a little bit, but notice when we're talking about our basal metabolic rate, this is 70% of our calorie needs come just from our BMR. So this number does not stay the same. This is actually something that we can increase. How do we do that? Primarily through strength training, weight-bearing activity. So the more active we are, the more muscle that we have, the more muscle mass that our body has, we're very efficient. We have a high metabolism. So we want to focus on doing weight-bearing exercise to improve our BMR, our basal metabolic rate. The next thing we want to look at is this NEAT. That is our non-exercise activity. NEAT is just this. It's standing, it's walking around, it's moving. It's everything that's not your structured exercise. This accounts for 20% of our calorie needs. So as a culture, we are much more sedentary now. So we really want to focus on ways that we can increase our NEAT, walking around, taking the stairs, all the things. The next thing, 10%, is the thermal effect of food. That is literally the amount of calories that our body needs to complete the process of digestion, of eating and consuming our food. Now, what's the one thing that really can affect this? Protein. So protein is harder to break down. It takes longer. It's more active for the body to do that. So we really want to eat a diet that's high in protein to increase the thermal effect of food. And then our last one up at the very top is our exercise activity thermogenesis. You'll notice it's only 5 to 10% of your total calorie needs. So when you're talking about, outworking a bad diet, this is where that comes from. Your exercise in the gym is not the primary reason that you want to do that for weight loss. It really needs to come primarily from your food. So tons of benefits of exercise, our cardiovascular health, our muscular health, bones, tissue, all the things that's so good for us, but it's not our primary reason for losing weight. We really want to look at all of these other things, and it's a combined picture. And then the last thing to note is our stress level, sleep. Those are huge when it comes to that, and as well as our hormones. So if something is out of whack, if you're doing all the right things, probably wise to get your hormones checked and make sure that everything's in balance there, that you're managing your stress well, and that most importantly, that you're sleeping. So I hope that was helpful. If you have any specific questions, drop them in the comments and feel free to reach out to us. Thanks so much.